What's going on YouTube? Josh here checking in. Back with another video for you guys. As you can tell, I'm wearing the doctor clothes because I play one on TV. Just kidding. I actually was in the hospital today. I'm about 3 months out from graduating, so that is super exciting. I'll be one of the few MD CSCS. And on to the topic of the video. So today we're talking about rest intervals. There's a video on my channel about 1.5 years, 2 years ago where I did a review on a meta-analysis basically looking at what is the optimal rest interval for hypertrophy, for building muscle. And the short version is basically there's no optimal period of time, right? If you rest for 30 seconds or if you rest for 2 minutes or rest for 5 minutes, it really doesn't matter. Now, there's one really big part of this equation that is not really taken into account, which is volume. Now, volume is super important. It's literally the most important aspect of your training when it comes to getting stronger, building muscle, because that is really measures how much work you're putting in. It's, in very much, as long as you're doing high quality work, meaning you're not just lifting 20% of your 1 rep max for sets of 5, which is obviously going to do nothing for you. As long as you reach a threshold level of stimulus, the volume is the most important aspect of your training. And so if there's a way for you to increase your volume without negatively affecting the other aspects of your training, you should be employing it. And rest intervals is the #1 way to do that, in my opinion. Now, how does this work? So most people take the approach that for rest intervals, you should rest as little as you need. The problem is most folks get that part wrong. They actually are resting way more than they actually need, and they're not really pushing themselves to reduce their rest intervals and in turn be able to complete more work in a given amount of time, or alternatively, reduce the total time of your workout and increase the quality of the work. So, those are kind of 2 things that I threw in there, and basically what I would employ you guys to do is just to, if you're not used to already timing your rest intervals, go out there and just go out there with a stopwatch, see how long you're resting right now if you're sort of just resting intuitively. Oftentimes I see folks, they do a set that's not too difficult, they plan to rest for maybe a minute or 2, and then that minute or 2 turns into 4 or 5 or 6, you're at the gym, you're on your Instagram, on your phone, somebody comes over and they're talking to you and you have a conversation, and before you know it, it's been 5 or 6 or 7 or who knows how long from one set to the next. And really, if you were efficient with your time, you could have gotten in another 1 or 2 sets. Now, those 1 or 2 sets might not sound like that big of a difference, but if you can increase your overall volume in a workout by 25, 30% over the course of a year, those can be some huge gains that are unrealized. Now, of course, there comes a point where you increase the volume so much that you can't recover. So I'm not suggesting that you just go crazy and just do 1-minute rest intervals for everything and just do like a 60-minute CrossFit workout. What I am suggesting is it's really an area that can substantially improve your gains if you just start monitoring it. So start off with the stopwatch. Eventually you want to move yourself towards using a timer. Basically really figuring out what is the littlest amount that you can do. Now, one thing I will note about this is it is going to be dependent on your level of fitness. So if you're used to kind of just using rest intervals, sort of whatever feels right, and then now you go to sort of pushing yourself, you're going to feel tired, you're going to feel tanked, and it might seem like this is not working out for you. I encourage you to sort of push past this point and do your best to get in better physical shape, really get in better cardiovascular shape. If this stuff isn't working, maybe add some cardio on top of your regular weightlifting. That way you can actually get more work in and benefit yourself. Now, one last thing that I'm gonna say, the exception being, this doesn't really apply so much to powerlifters that are really close to a meet, but pretty much everybody else, if your goal is get stronger, build muscle, you might want to consider actually really reducing your rest intervals to the point where it affects how much weight you can lift. Now, this might sound kind of crazy, right? I'm telling you to lift less weight. Well, the thing is, you need to consider how this is going to affect your total volume, right? Because in the long run, that's the thing that we care about more for the most part, right? Obviously, this will depend on your individual goals, where you're at in the training cycle, but for the most part, you might want to consider using more strict rest intervals if that means that overall you're able to get in a substantial amount more volume, even if that might mean sacrificing the weight in the short term. So that's the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you've got any questions, be sure to post them in the comment section below. I'll be glad to get back to you guys. And that's all. I'll catch you.